Hi, welcome to my channel. My name's Chance, and it's Friday, so that means it's time for some hot takes. And it is a wonderful Friday because today is the start of Gem State Con, which means I'm going to be playing board games for 3 days straight. Can't get any better than that. Okay, so today's hot takes are going to be themed around polyominoes. This is revolutionary shape in gaming. We got Tetris back there, and then of course, I looked this up, and polyominoes, they started, gaming back in like 1953 or something like that. And that was just like having a box and trying to fit all your polyomino shapes inside of that box. And today we've done some advancements on this, this whole puzzle and board games, and there are just some really, really fun board games using polyominoes. Generally, if I see a game of polyominoes, I'm like, that game equals fun, right? So let's talk about some of these games. And I'm going to be kicking things off with a very abstract game, and this one's going to be Project L. So Project L is a game where you're going to have a bunch of these little kind of square tiles. And those square tiles, they're a double layer cardboard, and each one of those has like a different shape in it. And basically your goal is to be able to complete that shape using your set of polyomino tiles. So in the game, you're gonna start with a few of your own polyominoes, like they're gonna have like little tiny single square pieces, you're gonna have a small double square piece, and then you have actions where you can get new tiles, and generally you're gonna have to start from like level 1, and the tiles go level 1, 2, 3, 4, and that's basically the number of squares that make up that polyomino. And if you get a new piece, you got to start from that level 1, and then you can also do an action where you can upgrade a piece. So you can upgrade to the level 2, or they'll get to the level 3, and that's where you get those different shapes. And then the level 4, which has all the unique shapes, right? So you're kind of getting bigger and bigger tiles. The reason you want to do this is because you're trying to complete these little double-sided, double-layered boards puzzles as fast as possible. So having larger tiles tends to mean that you take less actions to place tiles onto those puzzles, and you can kind of knock those puzzles out faster. And of course, the reason you're doing this is to get points. So the person that completes the most puzzles doesn't necessarily win because each puzzle has its own number of points on it. You want to collect the ones with the most points, complete the most puzzles with the most points possible. Now there's also a reward for completing some puzzles, which is going to be gaining a new polyomino piece if you complete that puzzle. So this can help you avoid doing that whole arduous process of like getting new polyominoes and then doing that upgrade action. So if you can just complete puzzles and get the new polyominoes, then you don't have to do upgrade actions, and you just gain the ones you need to complete more puzzles. So you have this kind of really cool kind of loop in the game where you're kind of collecting these double layered boards to add new puzzles to your tableau, and then you're trying to collect new pieces to be able to complete those puzzles as fast as possible. And it's, like I said, a race against the other players. Overall, Project L, I had a really good time with. I really enjoyed this. It kind of satisfies that part of my brain that really likes these type of spatial puzzles. And it was cool that you got the variety, you got to pull each one of these out, and every little double layered board you got was a new unique puzzle for you to solve with your pieces. And I thought this was a really pleasant experience. Now, on the other side, I would say Project L, it doesn't stand out in any way for me. Like, this is not a game that I'm going to be like, oh, let's play Project L. If someone wants to play it, I'm like, oh, hey, yeah, that's fun. Let's do it. Okay, sounds great. And it was really easy to teach. Like, it doesn't take, you can pull it out, and most of the rules are on the player board itself. So that's really nice that it's just a very straightforward game to play. But like I said, in the abstract genre, it's just kind of, it was like, yeah, that was pleasant. I had a good time. I'm not going to be like clamoring to get this back to the table. And I would say part of that's due to the fact that there's not a lot of interaction in Project L. Everything's just a race. It's like there's a limited pool of the polyomino tiles. So if you clear out a pool before someone else gets them, then they could be a little limited in what they can do, or just a race to get the specific puzzle boards with the most points on them. And that's really the only interactive component. I tend to like my abstracts to be a little meaner, you know, like my favorite abstract is the old one, the classic Azul. Like, I absolutely love Azul. I love kind of filling that pot with all one color tile because you have that center pot in Azul, and then you can kind of screw someone over they're like, oh, I need to take 8 tiles and I have to drop a bunch on the floor, which is negative points for them. So I like that. I like abstracts that have a little more, let's say, meanness to them, that they have some meanness. They have something that allows you to kind of interact with the other players, or your decisions are going to have some sort of impact on the other players. And Project L is just kind of missing that for me. But yeah, good game. I had a good time. I would recommend trying it out. And if you're into kind of that a little more multiplayer solitaire, or you're looking for a nice solo puzzle, I think this would be a great choice for that solo puzzle. Okay, moving on to something with a little bit more theme. This is going to be My City. Now, My City's been out for a while. It's the campaign legacy polyomino game. There's even a new version of it out called My Island. I would say the reviews I've seen for My Island have mostly been from people that have loved My City, and they've been kind of a little lackluster. It's been kind of like, well, yeah, I played My City and I didn't really need more of this game anymore. And it's kind of neat that My Island uses hexagons, but whether or not you like hexagons as your polyomino pieces, I don't know. I do like hexagons in board games, but I think polyominoes, I really like just those square shapes. I think that's easier for your brain to process. So yeah, My City. My City is the legacy game. I think it has about 18 chapters, I believe. So it's every 3 chapters, you're going to be unlocking kind of a whole new set of rules with new scoring criteria and conditions for the game. Then over the course of the game, the players are going to become a little bit asymmetric on what they can, or their board and their pieces, because basically the winner is going to tend to add negative things to their board and make it harder to score points, and the loser is going to be adding things that'll make it easier for them to score points. And that tries to kind of level the playing field between the up to 4 players. I've been playing this at 2 players, and overall, I would say right out of the gate, I loved My City. It's kind of in the flip and right genre, but this one's a flip and place. Basically, you flip a card and it tells you which piece to place on your board. And then there's going to be certain rules for placing. Like there's a river on your board, so you can't place a piece going across the river. You're going to have rocks on your board, which are going to be negative points if you don't cover them by the end of the game. And then there's going to be trees, which are going to be positive points if you don't cover them at the end. So it has a really nice set of rules and very clean. It's a very clean system, very easy to dive into because you're just flipping card, placing a piece. Really fun to play. I really enjoy that type of game system, and I'll be talking about another one down the line here that falls in the same category. Now, I've been playing this at 2 players, and the person I've been playing with and myself, we kind of have the same opinion on this game. And it's that we really enjoy the puzzle of this. We really enjoy the placement puzzle and the polyomino and the flip in place. Like it's all great. But the one downside is that the game doesn't give you enough time to explore that scoring criteria for one of these sessions. Basically, every 3 sessions, you're going to be adding a new set of rules, and you're possibly going to be radically changing how the game scores, which means that you don't ever really get good at the puzzle in front of you, because every time it's going to be like, oh, hey, that was neat. I would like to try to do this again. But then you do the next chapter and it's like, well, I got to completely change my strategy now. So if you're going for that thing where you're like, oh, I'm trying to see if I can set a new high score in this game or whatever, the game doesn't really offer you that. It doesn't really offer you the benefit of being let's say a pro at My Island, right? It doesn't offer you that experience to get really good at the scoring criteria in the game, because it's just going to kind of wipe that and change up your strategy for the next round. So that's kind of the downside here, is that it's kind of constantly changing things where I would say I don't get to spend enough time with the new scoring criteria to feel like I'm getting good at it. And I feel like the game's just kind of, with that balancing between the 2 players, it's just kind of giving me points if I lose and then taking away points if I win on the next round. But on the plus side, I would say that a lot of polyomino games, the reason I don't want to revisit them too much is because they get boring after a little while, right? Like if they have the same scoring criteria, you're just kind of doing the same thing over and over, and it's like, okay, I don't really, this is fine, but it's getting a little repetitive. My Island doesn't fall, or My City doesn't fall into that trap, because it is constantly changing those scoring criteria. So it's kind of like this double-edged sword. It's like, I would like to be able to spend a little bit more time with each one of these conditions before we move on to a whole new rule set. But if it didn't have that thing where it was unlocking these new rules, I think it would get a little bit stale. So yeah, I don't know. For me, they didn't hit the balance of allowing me enough time to play with each one of the systems before moving on. But if they didn't have that of moving on, I think I would have been bored with the game already. And I'm about 75% of the way through the game. So I do really like my city. I don't know if I'd play it at 4. I think 2 players is totally fine. And I'm excited to try out the endless mode as well, because you can play a mode of the game where it just is, you can just flip over the board and it doesn't have legacy. It's just a standard board game. So that's my city. I'm really enjoying it. Like I said, 75% of the way through. I'm excited to finish it. But it's good and bad. It's good where, yeah, I enjoy the puzzle of it, but it's bad where, yeah, we're changing the puzzle every 3 games, radically changing it. Then also we have to learn a new set of rules every 3 games, which is a little frustrating. I'll admit that that's kind of one of the annoying parts for me with campaign or legacy games, where it's just like, oh, here's a new set of rules. So take the first 10 minutes trying to figure out what you're doing in this one and then play this 30-minute game. So yeah. Good and bad. I do recommend it because I enjoy it more than I don't. So overall, yeah, my city is a great Polyomino game. All right, let's move on to another one that has a little bit more interesting theme to me. And this is going to be a space-based Polyomino game. This is going to be Planet Unknown. So Planet Unknown is you can play 1 to 6 players, which is kind of crazy in itself. But also it doesn't play much slower if you go up to the 6-player count because of the simultaneous play action. Basically, you have this Lazy Susan on the center of the table, which contains all your polyomino pieces. The active player is going to spin it to whatever they want to select, and then everyone else will select from their section of the Lazy Susan. And basically there's 2 possible choices in each section. There's a big tile and a smaller tile, and then you're going to select that, take it, put it on your planet somewhere, and when you do this, you're going to be basically going up these tech tracks that you have on your player board. So you're going to have like your rover tech track, which is going to allow you to move your rover around, which needs to collect generally meteorites, because meteorites will cancel out scoring conditions for you if you don't get them off your board. Or you need to collect crew pods with those to kind of gain points by saving the crew pods that I guess have crashed on this planet and somehow. I'm not entirely certain about that part of it. But then you're gonna build forests, you're gonna build civilization things, and then upgrade on those tracks, or build water things on the ice sections to be able to have water on the planet. So you're basically going through and you're doing this terraforming process by placing down these polyomino tiles. And once again, I like placing polyominoes, so I like this puzzle. It's a really good puzzle, and I like that this plays up to 6 players, and I think even at 6 players, the game takes about an hour, which is fantastic. There are some downsides to Planet Unknown, though. I played it about 3 times now, and I think when I first played it, I had a really good experience, and I rated it very highly. Every time I played it since then, it's kind of dropped, in my opinion. It has not stayed at that same level. And part of this is due to I maybe trying out the more advanced factions. Like there is a lot of variety available in Planet Unknown. You have a lot of different planets you can have, which have a different kind of spatial puzzle associated with them. Then you also have your own corporations, and those corporations can be advanced, and that gives you a different kind of tech track to go up, and different things, different abilities to unlock. And while this is really nice to have that variability, like I said with my city, just a straight polyomino puzzle can get a little dry and boring if you don't have things changing up frequently enough. There was a downside with Planet Unknown where I would say the rules for the advanced stuff and the special planets, they're a little more ambiguous than I would have liked. I felt like this was the hardest part of the game. Once we started using those more advanced things, was just figuring out how people's planets and corporations worked. That took up a good like 15 minutes at the start of every game. Maybe I'm exaggerating, but overall, it is this thing where it's like, it's kind of like the legacy part of my city. It's like, okay, I got to learn this whole new set of rules to figure out how to work this planet, and it was a bit of a frustrating experience with those ones. And because of that, I kind of enjoy playing the basic side a little bit more than playing the more advanced sides. And because of that, I run into the problem of, oh, this is getting a little bit dry for me. So once again, we run into the problem of, hey, if I just have a basic polyomino puzzle, it gets a little boring after too many plays. And then once I add in that advanced criteria and I'm trying to learn things all the time, it's like, well, this takes away from the simplified experience of just kind of diving into a game. So overall, Planet Unknown, I think it is a great polyomino puzzle. I like those that tech tree thing that it's doing with terraforming the planet. I really, really like the simultaneous play and that lazy Susan feature, although I will admit that getting the game set up and shuffling each one of those stacks of Polyominoes is a pain, and then also putting the game away, also a pain. But I do have a really good time playing this. I think I would have started by rating this game. It was between like an 8 and a 9 for me. Like I really had a good experience on my first play. And now after 3 plays, it's more of a 7. Like I think that's where it's gonna settle. I don't think it's gonna go below a 7. I'm always happy to play Planet Unknown. It's just this one where it's kind of like, yeah, not my favorite in the Polyomino games. All right, let's talk about kind of the original big Polyomino game that came out before Planet Unknown, and this one is going to be Isle of Cats. So I currently own everything for Isle of Cats. I really, really enjoy Isle of Cats, and I had I would say the opposite experience with Isle of Cats than I did with Planet Unknown. Isle of Cats started at a pretty low ranking for me. I think I ranked it at a 6 for my first game. Now, this is possibly because I played this game when I was first getting into the hobby. Like this was still pretty early in my getting into the hobby board game experience. And I don't think I was as good at learning or teaching games at this point in my hobby gaming lifetime or whatever. And that gave me a bit of a negative experience with Isle of Cats. It was a little confusing. There was a lot of stuff going on. It was like, okay, I have this drafting experience. I have this fixed income. I got to pay to keep these cards. I got these boots and these baskets that I need to maintain to be able to rescue these cats from the fields, to then be able to actually participate in this Polyomino puzzle. It was like, oh, there are a lot of things to do for me to be able to get this piece that I just want to place on this board and play around with this placement puzzle, right? Like, yeah, it was a little much, I would say, early on in my hobby experience. Nowadays, I played it probably 3 or 4 more times. I played it a few more times solo, and every time I play it, I enjoy it more and more. Like this has gone up in my rankings. I think this has gone up to about an 8 in my in my rankings. So Isle of Cats, the way the game works is that everyone has a fixed income of 20 fish per round, and you're going to be dealing out 7 cards from this massive deck of cards to every player at the beginning of the game. Players are going to select 2 cards to keep and then pass the cards to their neighbor, and essentially it's a drafting game. So you're going to draft these cards, and these cards are going to be variations. They're going to be some that are instants to allow you to get a little more income or draw more cards. There's going to be some treasure cards that allow you to gather treasures to be able to place on your board, which are kind of like these unique pieces that can fill in or help you fill in your game board a little more efficiently. Then you're going to have some that are going to be basically the main cards in the deck are going to be like your baskets and the boots. The baskets are going to be basically you need to have a basket to be able to rescue a cat. So those baskets are critical for you to be able to get those Polyomino tiles. And then the boots are just going to determine turn order. We'll come back to the boots towards the end of my hot take here. But yeah, it is going to be that drafting experience. Now, the part I like about this is that during that draft, some of the cards are going to be lessons. Those lessons are basically end game scoring conditions. And this is where I feel like the Isle of Cats does variability better than Planet Unknown. Because Planet Unknown does it with the variability of the boards and the corporations. And each one of those adds a bit of a barrier to starting the game. Like it adds just this thing that you need to familiarize yourself with before you can even get going. Which is kind of the problem I have with Planet Unknown. Is like, okay, now I got to learn how to do this corporation, and it's not exactly straightforward. So maybe I need to look up something on BGA. I don't know. And also, they don't really seem all that balanced, to be honest. But back to Isle of Cats. So those lesson cards, those are going to be your end game goals. And essentially, when you're drafting cards, you can look at that and be like, oh, this would be an interesting goal to go for. And basically, you're building up your own variable experience during the game as you're doing that drafting part of this part of each round. And there's going to be, I think, 5 rounds in the game, so you're going to be getting more opportunities to unlock more of those lesson cards. So because of that, I like that it's kind of giving you this thing. It's like, oh, have solo cats. So basically the cats have different colors, and it'll also be like, oh, have solo cats on your board. Generally, you don't want to have solo cats because you want to have families of colors together to score the most points. But this card says like, oh, bypass that and score this criteria a little bit differently. Then there's going to be some base scoring criteria for the game. Like you're going to want to fill out each one of the rooms on your ship. There's different rooms, and basically that's going to change how you place your cats to try to fill a room so you don't score, I think it's -5 points for non-filled room. And then there's also some rats on your ship, which you want to cover. You want to get rid of those rats to basically not score a -1 point per rat. Although there's also going to be lesson cards that say like, oh, if you leave your rats uncovered, get this many points. So I feel like there's a lot of variability offered in those lessons you can draft during the game. And some of the expansions for the game also add in like different shapes for the boats, different shapes for the rooms. So there's some variability on that, but also unlike Planet Unknown, they don't really add more rules. It just adds a different border for you to put your polyomino tiles in, which I really appreciate. So essentially, like I can add all this variable in without needing to teach more rules for the game, because all the lesson cards they're pretty straightforward. It's like the text itself, you read it and you're like, okay, that makes sense. Like I know what I'm doing when I get this lesson card. So overall, I think Isle of Cats is great. Now I will say that I think it's like the Kittens and Beasts expansion, I think that this is probably the best expansion for the game because of the kittens. Now, during the game, like you're going to be drafting cards and you're going to be these baskets and boots. The boots, when you play cards to rescue cats, basically you're going to play a certain number of basket cards and they're going to have boots on them or boots cards, and the person with the most boots is going to be able to go first in turn order. That's going to be what changes the turn order every round. Now, without the kittens expansion, I would say the boots they're okay. Like you're racing to get the polyomino tile you want, so maybe it's important that you go first in a certain round over another, but not always critical. I've never found it to be game changing to like go first or last or whatever during that draft order. But when you have the kittens expansion, basically the person in first has the ability to draft kittens. Now these kittens are these tiny little tiles, and these tiny tiles help you fill in these other spaces. And also when you draft kittens, you can draft 2 of them at the same time, which is crazy because one of the scoring criteria for the game is to have families of cats, and those kittens, they count as a cat for all scoring purposes. So essentially if you can draft 2 those kittens on one turn, then that gives you 2 cats, which can help you build out those families even faster than your opponents. So I do feel like kittens is a really nice expansion to add into Isle of Cats. The other one that I really like is the boats, because you can have those kind of asymmetric player boards. Like I said, unlike Planet Unknown, it doesn't have more rules associated with it. It just gives you a different outline that you're going to be filling in with your polyomino pieces. So that's going to do it for Isle of Cats. This one, hopefully you can tell, I do really enjoy Isle of Cats. I think it is probably my favorite polyomino game. I'm struggling to think of another one that would surpass it. It is going to be my choice for a polyomino to play. Now, polyomino game to play. Okay, so we are going to move on to my last game of this hot takes, and this hot takes I went through a little quicker. I think it's because I got the convention coming up. I really need to get this video out so I can go and play some board games. Now, the last one is going to be Mind Space. Mind Space is from Allplay, and it is one of those small box games, and this game is just phenomenal. I absolutely love Mind Space. This is, like I said, so Isle of Cats, I said, was my favorite polyomino game. This one is very close to being my favorite. It fits a different criteria for me. One, it has simultaneous play, which is great, and for the most part, it's multiplayer solitaire. There are going to be some, there's 3 objectives that are going to be out during every game. You get a little bit of variability in those objectives per game, and it's going to be a little bit of a race to get those objectives, and that's really the only interaction you have with the other players, is racing to get those objectives. This one is a fantastic solo game as well because of the limited interaction with that one. But overall, yeah, this is a great one. So this is going to be a flip, roll, and write. So essentially you have this market of these cards, and these cards represent the polyominoes. You're going to have 5 out there and then like a default one at the very end for number 6. You roll these dice. These dice have different colors. And essentially once you roll those dice, you're going to place those numbers on the respective card depending on the location. So you roll a 2, it's going to go on the 2nd card in the row. If you roll a 4, it's going to go on the 4th card in the row. And essentially that card represents the polyomino shape you get to draw, and the die represents the color that you get to draw. So you're going to be selecting a shape to draw each turn, and basically you get to then draw that shape on your little dry erase board that you have in front of you. And then there's going to be different scoring criteria based on those colors and those shapes. So essentially, like you have and it's mind space, about the about the mind and having kind of a balanced life. So you're going to have things that are going to be scoring for like hobbies or friendship or love, or maybe it was companionship or something. But overall, yeah, it is still pretty abstract. This is one of those games where the theme I think is nice. It doesn't need the theme, but it is pleasant. It does make me enjoy the game a little bit more. But overall, yep, you're going to be filling in these polyomino shapes based on the die and the card that is available to you, and then just trying to fill in your brain, basically. And there's going to be different scoring criteria, like I think the purple and the orange, I think you're going to score points for each like purple tile touching an orange tile. The pink wants to have a matching shape because that's the love one, so it wants to have a matching shape on the board somewhere. Then blue, I think you just need to have blue to try to cancel out these negative points in your life. And then green is going to be finances. And this one's cool because when you draw a green tile, you're going to be able to basically give yourself some money, and that money can be spent to to kind of power up your actions. You can use it to add a black square, just a blank one, to kind of fill in a section, and then you can use it to change a die or change a polynomial shape that you're drawing. And yeah, it gives you a little bit of flexibility with your ability to choose or draw polyominoes. So this one, I think that the way it's set up, where you have that market of those like 5 cards plus the sixth one, which is just the default like 2 shape one. And I think that the way you roll these dice to select which cards are going to be available to you, I really like this selection mechanism for the polyomino shapes. Then I really like the scoring criteria. It's a straightforward game, and the board always looks nice. You can't draw 2 shapes of the same color right next to each other, so you got to try to figure out how you position your shapes and order the way you're putting them down on your board to be able to draw the next shape of the color that you want. Overall, this is a very, very pleasant polyomino puzzle. I strongly, highly recommend Mindspace. This, it's a very fun time. Everyone I've introduced it to has had a great time with Mindspace. Okay, so that is going to do it for my hot takes this Friday. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you maybe found a polyomino game that you enjoyed. Just as a quick wrap up, as always, I would say, so Project L, very abstract, a very enjoyable game, but it's nothing that, there's nothing to kind of drive me to go back to that game. If someone wants to play it, more than happy to play it, because I think it is a well-designed abstract game. My City, legacy game, I have had a great time playing My City. It has the issue where I feel like I'm learning too many rules all the time, and I'd like to spend a little more time with each one of the scenarios to kind of try to maximize my points and get better at it. But it doesn't really offer that because you're kind of advancing all the time and is always changing those scoring criteria. So yeah, it's a pro and a con, because it is keeping up the variability and keeping me engaged and interested in the new puzzle, but it doesn't allow me enough time with the older puzzles to be able to kind of get better at the game, you know? Planet Unknown, I would say I had a great first experience with this, but as I played it more, I've kind of cooled on it a little bit. It's the variability it offers is it lands in this area where it's a little more complicated than I'd like. It takes a little bit too much work to figure out how to play the new corporation or the new planet that you have out, which it's kind of unfortunate. So that's the only downside there. I do still think Planet Unknown is a great puzzle. I love that it plays up to 6 players and it's simultaneous, so it is a very rapid game to play, a very quick one to play, and it still has a really good polyomino puzzle. I do like filling out that planet, and you can basically fill out your whole planet if you get lucky in this game, which is something I really enjoy in Planet Unknown, because most games are not going to allow you to fill out your planet or fill out your polyomino puzzle. You always have to have missing spaces. But Planet Unknown, you can get close. Then Isle of Cats, I absolutely love this one. I like the theme, I like the art, I like the drafting plus the management of that fish economy that you have. You got to pay fish to keep your cards and pay fish to draft the cats. So it's got a really good decision space. I would say I had a poor experience in my first couple of games with this, but as I played it more and learned the system and got better at teaching it, I've had a better and better time with Isle of Cats. Then Mindspace, this is a flip and write And I think it is just a great puzzle. I love that dice plus card polyomino selection system. I really enjoy playing this game, and the theme just adds a little bit to this game and elevates it a little bit. So I do recommend Mindspace if you're looking for a small, really nice polyomino puzzle. So that's going to do it for my hot takes this Friday. Please let me know if you have any thoughts on these games or if you have any questions about them. And then as always, so thank you for watching and thank you for spending your time with me, and I will talk to you next time.